Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening to 107.7 FM New Orleans. You are listening to What the Frick Live. I'm your host, Emily Menshouse, and I have Will Martinez with me with Dark Fringe Radio. Hello, Will.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Very good. Very good. We're talking about some squatchy stuff tonight, huh?
We will be talking about squatchy stuff. What the heck's
No.
going on with the world this week?
Yeah,
What's
I
up
don't
with the
know.
airplanes is what I want to know. They had a fecal fiasco, and I never thought I'd ever say fecal, and what the frick up with
I don't know. Something's going on in the skies, and I don't know what the answer is.
I know. Are they punking us? Is this all being punked?
Sometimes I want to say yeah. You know what I mean? A part of me says yeah, but then I'm not sure. You know?
I kind
They don't have
of.
time for all that, do they? You know?
By the way, we got Roger Blair here from Pike County, Kentucky. Well, I'm in Ashland, Boyd County, but Pike County,
Roger.
down there towards Pikeville and Hazard. I got a story to tell later on with the guests we have on this evening. But anyway, Will has a podcast called Dark Fringe Radio. You don't mind, Will, tell people about it or what's going on?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, darkfringeradio.com. You can check out all our episodes. We'll be having a new episode coming out tomorrow. We decided to kind of delve into some of the countries that listen to us from outside the United States. So we dedicated a whole episode to Australia. So we're going to be talking about the myths and legends of Australia. And there's a lot of cool and crazy stuff that comes out from the land down under.
Did you see my comment? You had the 6-year anniversary. Like, what episode should you do?
Yeah, I saw that.
Dalai Lama's CIA.
The Dalai Lama CIA. Yeah.
That's where he is. Darkfringeradio.com or follow him over there on Facebook. You got a lot of followers on Facebook now too, at Dark Fringe Radio. So woo on that.
Yeah, crazy. It's amazing.
So thank you everybody for tuning in. We are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Rumble. We love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are making comments and you're watching via Facebook, we do use StreamYard. So if you start making comments, because we love comments, it keeps us in the algorithm. And it comes up, unknown user, I can't remember what the name of it is, what they use, or your picture's not there. You need to go to facebook.com or StreamYard.com/Facebook and give them permission to use your name and picture, because we'd love to see who we're talking to. And then Roger says, yep, I'm close to where the Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia state lines. Oh yeah, that's all there's stories down there. You go missing. If anybody goes missing in Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, or Virginia, I guarantee they're in Hazard. I guarantee they're on that part. So we have a really amazing guest this evening coming on. We haven't had a Bigfoot person on in a very, very long time. So we got Bigfoot Michigan Rob. He's an accomplished author and a host of a successful podcast featured on the Bigfoot Michigan Rob YouTube channel, which I have all of his links and stuff available in the descriptions of the show, and I'll have it going on the screen too. But his channel offers 2 popular shows: Beyond BMR, which airs on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Beyond BMR, Unveiling the Unexplained, which is a broadcast on Thursday afternoons at 1 p.m. Additionally, Rob offers regularly released subscriber exclusive content. He's also an author, and he's written a book about true cryptid encounters, book 1. So that only means that there's going to be book 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably, because this goes on all the time. So we're going to bring Bigfoot Michigan Rob on right now to the show.
All right.
Hey.
That was a mouthful.
What's going on, Rob?
Hey, hi you guys. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
We appreciate it. First Bigfoot person in a long time. So, we're excited about this, and we thank you. And you've written a book and everything. We're going to get to that. But Rob, is there anything that I missed introducing you?
No, you pretty much got it. It was pretty accurate. You did well. One of those shows, I think you mixed the two. One, Brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob's on one on Thursday, but hey, it's the semantics, right? As long as you tune in to the YouTube channel, we're good to go.
You know what I was thinking? I was like, BMR needs to be like a bar drink. That's what I was thinking.
Well, yeah, it sounds like a bar drink, doesn't it? Hey, give me a BMR.
Give me a BMR.
Give me a BMR and a shot of Jack Daniels.
That's right. A chaser, yes.
Brutus glass.
It reminds me of PBR, Pabst Blue. Remember that?
Yeah, right.
They used to
Yeah.
So,
It was Cheap Man's beer back in high school.
Yeah, I tell you, I think back when I was in high school, the first like cheap beer we found was called. It sounded fancy. Go Bells,
Oh,
Gobles.
Go Bells, Gobles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was like $8 a case. All the buddies we
Right.
could get our money together, $2 a piece, and you
Right.
got a case for the weekend.
The good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Paid for it the next day, though.
Oh, of course. Yeah, all that cheap liquor.
Yeah.
I think my drink wasn't beer back then, but I think it was strawberry wine, strawberry fields, or what? Or not strawberry fields. Boone Farm. That's it.
There it is.
Yeah.
Don't ask how I know about that.
Listen, I've been doing a John Lennon Dakota study this week, so that's why I was thinking strawberry fields.
Yeah.
Place,
I think all the girls, they drink Boone's Farm, Cherry Hill, Strawberry Hill. I think it was.
Strawberry Hills. Yeah. Oh boy.
So, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Obviously, you're Michigan, right?
Yeah. Yes, I am. Yeah.
Born and raised.
Born and raised. I wasn't born with the name Bigfoot Michigan Rob, though. So, that wasn't my given name.
Do you have it tattooed? I'm sorry.
Well, I was, actually, I do have a tattoo, but it's not. It's a Detroit tattoo.
It's Detroit, Tigers.
Tigers, yeah. But I was, I was thinking about, because I always wear bandanas, so I've got some bandanas coming out that are embroidered with my logo.
Nice.
But I was thinking though about getting an actual tattoo, a BMR tattoo. But I don't know. I don't want to plaster my logo on my body. It seems kind of really weird, full of yourself or weird.
I get you. I get you, Rob. Yeah.
But
it's like putting
maybe a BMR with a Sasquatch wearing a bandana.
That would be great. That'd be awesome. So since you're in Michigan and everything, I'm assuming that you've had Bigfoot experiences there. And this is what got you involved with Bigfoot.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, actually, yes. In fact, I tell you what, I did have a Bigfoot encounter. It was in June 15th of 2018. Exact. I mean, I know the date exact. It was such an ordeal. And the reason today the Bigfoot Michigan Rob YouTube channel exists because of my Bigfoot encounter. The reason I wrote the book is because of my Bigfoot encounter. So had I not had the encounter in 2018, I wouldn't be on your show tonight, because I just never would have delved into the subject matter. So, and I'll get into it a little bit later as the show unfolds as to really why I wrote the book. But so I'll just get into my encounter. Again, it was June 15th of 2018. So I surprised my girlfriend at the time. Her name was Cindy. And I said, look, we had been dating for some time. And I'm like, I'm kind of an outdoorsy type of guy. And I surprised her. Hey, we're going fishing. We live in southeast Michigan, close to, we're 20 minutes from Detroit. And this was maybe a 3.5 hour drive to Cadillac, Michigan, Lake Cadillac.
Okay.
So she's like, really? I go, yeah, we're going to go out and do some fishing at least. And knowing Cadillac's kind of a cute town, I knew she'd like a lot of small shops, bars, whatnot. And you can hang out, cool things for women to do. So she reluctantly says, okay, fine. So we had on our trip, and I had rented a cottage up there, or a small cabin up there for the weekend. And I rented a small fishing boat. So everything, that was all taken care of. So we get to the Lake Cadillac, and we get out on the water. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning. We're going out fishing. Now, Lake Cadillac is a very expansive lake, right? It's very big. In fact, if you look on the state of Michigan on the map, and you look to the northwest, you'll see you'll see a blue blotch, which is the lake. So it's pretty sizable. Okay. There's also an adjacent lake connected to it through a canal called Lake Mitchell, another very size. So two very big lakes. Cadillac is really built up. And around Lake Cadillac, there's a lot of small business and industry, a lot of big, beautiful homes, and it goes back into the community. So we're out floating around fishing, and we're not catching anything, not even a nibble. I can tell Cindy's getting bored. I said, let's reel in the rod and reel. Let's just go drive around on the boat and do a little exploring. So we're driving around the lake, and then we hit this canal, and this canal leads to the other lake called Lake Mitchell. Now I get on Lake Mitchell, she and I, and it's another expansive lake, but it's not as built up as Lake Cadillac. Not as many houses, not as many businesses along the shoreline. It's mostly woods. In fact, it backs up to the Manistee National Forest. Beautiful backdrop. So I remember, this day was a beautiful day. Now, by the time we hit Manistee, Lake Mitchell, it's maybe 11:30, but it's a beautiful blue sky. The sun is out. The green backdrop of the forest is there. The blue of the water. Just a very, there's nobody on the lake. It's like a Wednesday, hardly nobody around. Very relaxing. So I kind of get the boat situated. So I'm just kind of drifting along shoreline, and I tell Cindy to hang on. I'm going to put our tackle together now. I'm going to, put the lures on the line and such. So I'm looking down into the boat. I'm looking at the gear. Cindy's standing up to the right of me. And I'm sitting right now on the stool inside this boat here, or the bench or whatever it was. And she says, "Rob, somebody's throwing rocks at the boat." And I go, "What?" No, I look up, I look to shore, and there's nobody there. In fact, the wood line drops right into the water. Very difficult. There's not a lot of standing area. Now, there was an area that had some trees were removed, but again, not a lot of area. So I said, "Well, hang on a second, honey." I go back again, taking care of the tackle. Second time, Cindy, Rob, someone's throwing rocks at the boat. I'm a little kind of perturbed now. I look up, I see nobody there. I said, "Look, hon, I'll join you in a second. There's nobody out there." So I go back to taking care of the tackle. Then, for whatever reason, guys and people listening out there, I just happen to look up, and yeah, there's something falling out of the sky. I'm like, "What the heck is this?" And plonk, 4 feet in front of the boat, it is the rock. I go to turn to my right to Cindy to kind of apologize, like, "Yeah, there's somebody's launching something from somewhere." But when I see her, it's June 15th, and her body at this time, she already had a nice tan. From head to toe, her body is completely drained of color.
Wow.
I mean, she's like turned from tan to white. And what the hell is she looking at? I looked to shoreline, and there's this creature, 9 foot tall, a humanoid covered in reddish brown hair from head to toe. Arms are on its side. It looked like a human being, but it looked like an odd human being, a human that had suffered maybe from Down syndrome or some deformity, because it had offset eyes, very gray, wrinkled face, big like jaw. But man, the reddish brown fur or hair was beautiful. I mean, a beautiful coat of hair this thing had, but it was just incredibly odd looking human. And I'm staring at this. And you guys remember, I'm telling you, the backdrop of the forest is green, blue sky, orange sun, this reddish brown figure, humanoid. This thing all of a sudden raises its arms parallel to the water from its side. Now that jaw, it drops, it literally detaches and just drops 6 to 8 inches down. It just kind of went like this, down, and expands, kind of like that video game Pac-Man. Remember Pac-Man? How the mouth was just, it kind of resembled that. That gray skin got taut. It rolls back, his eyes black. It now does not look like a humanoid. It looks like a demon. And with that big mouth open, all in unison, it roars and screams and it yells across the lake at Cindy and I. I could feel the reverberation hit me in my chest. Cindy, 5'1", 109 pounds of her, falls off the boat into the water. Literally. And I got hit and I stumbled back.
Was it ape-like? Could it pass for an ape or a monkey?
No, heck no. The thing, if you back up, when it looked like a human being in the beginning, And then it transformed to like explain looking like just a demon. I mean, it looked like something from a Marvel comic book. It looked, and I tried. I'll further in the story. I'll tell you what I tried with the research I was doing on this thing, but it looked like a demon. She falls into the water, right, screaming and yelling, you guys. Now I go to my right to move to get her. I can't move. I'm paralyzed.
Oh my goodness!
Now the beautiful green forest turned dark, and like the reddish brown hair dark. Everything was a filter, like black and white. I was looking through a filter. It seemed like time stood still, and I can't move to my right to get her into the boat. And I'm shaking my head. I'm trying to shake my head. I'm trying to do something to free my body. For whatever the reason, my sight now gets back. I get cognizant of my. I get in. I get Cindy. I get her into the boat. Now, this is where I'm actually, as terrifying as this one was, I'm even more scared because now I look back to shore trying to find where's this thing at. Well, it's gone. It's gone. So now I'm thinking, is it swimming? I don't know what this is, everybody. You guys, is it swimming? Is it walking on the bottom of the lake? I get that boat. I speed across that Lake Mitchell. I get through the canal. I get on the Lake Cadillac. I find pretty close to where I launched the boat. Cindy is just, shaking. I find like a beach towel or something we brought in the boat, wrap it around her. Get up, and I'm immediately looking for some place to go sit down, right? So now by this time, it's maybe 12:30. We find this small little bar. We walk in. Not a lot of people in there. It's middle of the day, like on a Wednesday, I think it was on the 15th, and so which was kind of cool. We find a booth in the left rear part of the bar. She sits down, I sit down. We're across from each other, looking at each other. So the barmaid comes up to us. Now, Cindy's not a drinker. Never seen her drink a drop since I was with her, right? She orders a bottle of Bud Light, a shot of Jack Daniels. I tell the barmaid, well, I'll have the same, make mine a double, So I'm looking at her, we're looking at each other. She goes, honey, what do you think that was? To me, she says, right? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you think it was? So I kind of throw the question back at her. She says, I don't know. I think it was maybe that Bigfoot creature. Now, mind you, she and I never watched anything about Bigfoot together since we were together, right? Nothing, not even paranormal stuff, just basic movies, right? Nothing out of the ordinary. I said, yeah, you could be right. You could be right. I don't know. Then she says, should we report it to the DNR? Should we call the police? No, what are we going to tell them?
Right.
We've seen some human that'll turn into a demon, because that's how I always explain it, what it looked like. So we pack our stuff up. She wants to go. She was frightened. So the trip ended, Will. So it ended. We get home. Now we immerse ourselves in the subject of Bigfoot now. And I never was really much for using YouTube for information. I watched maybe concerts on YouTube. So she's like on the internet. I'm fumbling through videos on YouTube, looking up, typing in Bigfoot demons. And the things that I was getting back, they didn't really quite look what, I saw.
What you saw, right? Okay.
Yeah, it was just kind of, not really. Then I started reaching out to people in the field, and I went through a whole handful of people, let me tell you, but nobody I could really trust. I found a couple people I could trust. But the bad thing about this, now at the time too, I was a business owner, right? And 2 months and 3 days to the date of our Bigfoot counter, August 15th of 2018, I get a call from Cindy's mom. We didn't live together, right? Cindy passed away.
Oh, wow.
Died in 2 months of this encounter.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm like, Remember, she's the one got hit. We got hit with that scream, that yell.
That's great.
I'm
But she got
immediately
hit worse.
thinking, yeah, she flipped off the boat, right? I'm
Right.
thinking, all of a sudden, I'm thinking, son of a bee, man.
Right.
Did this thing have something to do with this? I'm a young girl. I told you again, there's a reason why I told you she didn't drink or smoke. I mean, perfect, good health. To die 2 months later.
Right. That doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And the mom's, and so the mystery behind, I've never found out the real reason, Will and Emily, is because the mom didn't like me. I owned a bar. I was the devil because she was one of these moms or one of these people that if you own a bar, you are the devil yourself, type.
Right. Yeah.
So didn't like me. I wasn't married to the woman or anything. So I never got a record or an accurate description or autopsy on how she passed. Her mom told me heart attack. So after this happens, you guys, I go in a dark place for about, I get to my, I'm thinking this Bigfoot, this devil killed her or had something to do with it. I wanted to go back to the woods and blow it up. I was calling my buddies, hey, you got a machine gun? I was just talking nuts, really, literally. I kind of laugh about it now, but back then, if I was armed and had a tank, I would have tore the place up at this particular moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But again, I got to my bar manager and I said, look, here are the keys to the bar, man. I've known the guy 5-6 years, could trust him. I don't know when I'm coming back. Do me a favor, take all the money, put in the bank. Don't rip me off. I don't know when I'm coming back. I got something I need to do here. Okay, boss, whatever. Yeah, so I put him in charge, and I went on my quest to find out what this thing is, right? Never went back to Lake Cadillac, so I was too scared. It was just not a good memory. So I finally got a hold of a couple people in the Bigfoot community that I could trust. But I was I had all this, and they're trying to help me what it was. Some people said they thought it was a Bigfoot. A lot of these creatures can metamorphose and look into something else. And then I did some research, like a baboon, perfect example. It can metamorphose his face to look like a devil too. So
shapeshifter.
Huh? Pardon me?
Shapeshifter.
Yeah,
a skinwalker.
Yeah, but then I learned
about demons can do that too.
Demons.
Oh yeah,
I call it a demon. So you guys, basically, I've learned about all this stuff, and that's really how people say, Rob, you got to talk about this. You suffered a tragedy, PTSD. Who knows what the hell's going on in your mind? So I did one dumb video, and literally dumb. I've since taken it off YouTube. It was my very first. It was my encounter story that I just told you guys. I had like 2,000 views in like 3 days, but it was very crappy. It was terrible. I've since taken it off, but then I had gotten the idea. Maybe I'll just make a YouTube channel. But first, I started doing some more research. And so I've been doing my channel now for 2 years, and I interview prominent researchers and experiencers. And it's pretty good. It's pretty successful, pretty popular. But the thing about the book is I wrote the book because I was in a lost and lonely space for so long, nowhere to turn. When you get a story like that and you suffer a death, it's just hard to tell people, and it's hard to keep it in. So a lot of the experiences in this book are for people who are just like me, that in anonymity wanted their stories told, but they didn't want to come on the show. In fact, a lot of these stories I've done in video form on my channel, and I've told it just like I'm telling my story here for them. And a lot of them are comprised and compiled over the last couple of years and put in the book. And I've still got 92 stories that have yet to be published or sitting, in my computer, right? So people love and need their stories heard because, again, you guys, I thought I was an outcast of society because I
think that's normal feeling.
That's a normal feeling. Yeah.
Normal.
Isn't it? And to think that and to tell people the story than the death. Now, I don't think the deaths are really linked today. I just think it was an odd thing that happened. I don't really believe in coincidences, but but I'm not a scientist either, right? I don't know if her little insides got jungled together, and maybe that was a part of it. To this day, that will haunt me because the mother don't even know where she lives. I mean, she hates me, never liked me anyways, and I think she moved to Florida, stuff like that. So that's one thing I'll never get resolved. But the reason I do the YouTube channel, the reason I write the book is because so other people can be heard. Because for me, it's great therapy. Every time I tell this story, I was just stopped telling my story about a year ago, and someone told me, I've heard your story 20 times, Rob, and every time I heard it, it makes me feel better.
Right.
It makes me feel good because this person I spoke with had a similar type of situation. So it's important
to tell. There's power in testimony.
Yeah, and for me, it was a big burden off my shoulders. I tell it if people ask me to tell it. And today I don't think, Bigfoot's a killer roaming the woods like I did in 2018. But I do think it's also not the friendly forest right that some people like to suggest either, right?
Right. Yeah. One thing I want to ask you, Rob, if you don't mind, Emily.
No, go ahead.
Is, let's go back to your encounter first off. I mean,
yeah.
When that happened, was there any kind of noises that you heard besides the throwing of the rocks? Was there any kind of scent or smell? Did you smell anything? Was there anything like that was out of the ordinary when all that happened?
I could tell you this, that when we're along the lake, we're floating. Now remember this. Now I was about 90 feet too from the shoreline when I seen this. That's like how I did get such a nice look. But I will tell you this: when I heard the sounds of nature, certainly drifting along the lake shore. I heard birds. I mean, you could smell. You could just have this. You could smell the lake. But when I seen this creature, and when it opened its mouth, dropped that jaw, and yelled, the only thing I could hear was that. It seemed like everything, even the senses. I couldn't even smell the lake water.
Wow!
I couldn't hear the birds. It was just that sound emanating from across the shoreline to me. And I felt the power of it hit me. I felt it. I took a step back myself, and then again. I'm seeing in black and white, man, and I'm trying to shake. I'm like in a different time, like when it seems like time stood still, right? This whole encounter probably takes under 20 seconds, but for me, it was never ending,
right?
But then I snapped out of it and then got her in the boat and sped back.
Right.
Go ahead.
So the hertz level of this voice. Have you heard anything similar to that since then?
Great question. I had been, trust me, since 2018, I listened to all sorts of sounds of nature, whether it's wolves, coyotes, foxes. Talk to people that have had Bigfoot sounds or dogman sounds, right, alleged in the woods. A friend of mine, Tex from Texas Front Porch, you can find him on YouTube as well. He's got a recording of this howl that he played for me a couple years back. And, we're talking like on StreamYard so we can see each other's faces, having a conversation. He plays this for me and he goes, Rob, you see my face. The expression on my face was, Rob, that was pretty damn close, wasn't it? What he played back. So he has a copy. So yeah, he has got a copy of something very similar. Nothing's 100%, right? But this thing that he played for me was, yeah. Now that's the closest I've had. Other video or other audios.
Did it make you feel the same way though? Like when you heard it through him, did it?
It gave me chills. He said my face was very. He said I looked almost like I wanted to, shed a tear. He didn't mention that because and I felt it. It brought me back. I got to tell you another thing too. I have 2 renditions that are almost completed. Good friend of mine, Sibylla Irwin. She's a fantastic artist. She's got both of my Bigfoot renditions almost complete. What they look like. I've seen these because I've spent a couple months working on these of the humanoid looking Down syndrome looking guy to the demonic looking guy or Bigfoot, whatever you want to call him. Those scare me. They look identical. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is, Emily, I'll send you the links. I'm doing a show in a couple months where I'm going to present that to my audience.
Oh, please send. We'll share it out.
I will. But right now, they're not quite done. And I got to tell you something. I don't know if I'd be able to get through the show.
Yeah.
Because that's how authentic
impactful
they are. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, there was a point in my life telling this story. I was on a radio show. The very first show I did was on Sasquatch Chronicles. We had, and that's a pre-recorded show. We took like 20 takes because I couldn't get through it. Then I was live on New York radio. I started crying in the middle of the show. I've teared up several times on a lot of shows telling it. Up until maybe a couple of years ago, I can tell it now without looking very sad. And it's not because I'm over it. I'll never be over it. But I realize as life does go on, there's a reason for everything. It's been, 5 going on 6 years, but it's like every time I talk about it, I get therapy. But now when I see these renditions, you guys, and they were just almost finished like 2 months ago, very impactful. Brings back a lot of memories. And again, Emily, I know your question. Yeah, when I heard that, when Tex played that for me, it was pretty scary. It kind of did take me back, but not like these pictures, these renditions that I'm about to produce for people in a couple months.
Wow.
Wow. Rob, one other question, if you don't mind, Emily. If, since you've had this experience where you see this, humanoid creature that looks like it has Down syndrome and, it transforming into something looking like a demon, have you maybe looked into the possibility of it being something of like an indigenous type of creature, maybe a curse of that land, maybe from the indigenous people, or something that they fear, you know what I mean? Like a Wendigo or something like that. I mean, has that ever crossed your mind as to
that is such a great question that I'll be honest with you, I've never thought about that for that particular land. And maybe it's because it's kind of, it's more popular, it's more populated, I mean, maybe, now then again, the Manistee National Park or Forest is huge, but I never thought that way. I did, to be honest, and that might be something for me to further look into, because trust me, I still talk to a lot of people. No, not been back yet. I talked to some people that live there. One person told me that he has scouted that area from the road and has found, because I've got a man that saw me tell the story. He got a hold of me and he said, Rob, I'm from Cadillac, Michigan. I know exactly the way he knows where I was fishing, and he accessed the back of that wooded area from the road. And he says he went hiking through there, but it got very swampy and very murky. And he says, quite frankly, it was pretty spooky. And he did tell me this. To answer your question, kind of, Will, in that area, a lot of the community have heard howls in the night, but some people think that perhaps it's wolves, but there's not too many wolves in Cadillac. Most of the wolves are in the Upper Peninsula.
I have a question, because I've researched this some with state parks and national parks.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the national parks, state parks have a plethora of ley lines. Have you researched the ley lines that might be involved in the Cadillac, Michigan area or the national park where you were?
No, I have not.
Because I almost think that the majority, especially when I went in there over this last week, I looked up most sightings in Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia, since I'm over here. Every sighting that came up as specifically most recent in the last 2 to 3 years, they all happened in national state parks. So it makes me question, is the government doing some kind of mind F? I'm not going to say the word.
I'm writing down. I am writing down to investigate the ley lines in that area, because I didn't think of that. So thanks for that.
So there's a lot of ley lines, and there's a lot of ley lines up there in Michigan, and specifically through almost ley lines absolutely through West Virginia. I'll say that. But it's interesting to see that the most views or the sightings of Sasquatch, or some other kind of cryptid happens in national parks. Now that could be also that's where most people go visit. Everybody goes camping and stuff like that in national parks. But I'm confident in saying with my research that I've read about and gone through rabbit hole after rabbit hole, 90% of these possible encounters happen in the national state parks, which I think government could be related because they have a lot of this technology that most people don't understand. Like they have the psychoelectric weapons. They have CERN. I don't know if you know about CERN could be evolved in all this. And specifically, if it has ley lines, I think that there's more of a electromagnetic frequency that's going on that could be associated, and they're just playing with us.
I think it's yes to all your theories and everything you've looked into and researched. I will say this. In the book, and a lot of the encounter stories I've come across, a lot of the guests that I've had on the show, yes, a lot of sightings are in national parks. In fact, in the book, there's 45 stories in my book, and just about every story I tell you I do provide the location of the woods or if it's a national or state park, and many of them are from national state parks. And I think before the show we were talking about, we talk about the missing 411. We all know what that is. David Paulides does something on it, and he's investigated that for years. And it's a combination of everything, and I think that cryptids are involved. That's just one of the elements, though, right? We talked about other elements. And getting back though to the government, I did a story on a person that allegedly, worked for the government and was working in an underground military base, a dump. Yes.
Yeah.
And walking through, he was in a part that he wasn't classified to go in, and he literally said he saw beasts or creatures in these tanks just like you would see in a movie, literally in a tank. They look like oversized, like werewolves, humanoid looking figures.
Well, cloning and stuff. Will, you had a show about cloning not too long ago, but we have that place
just
up
2 or
in
3
New York.
shows ago. Yeah. We
New
just
York.
talked about that. Yeah,
Are they crossbreeding and letting these things go in the national parks and see what's coming out of this? Like,
no, I mean that just as ridiculous as that sounds. I've said it's not. I believe that. I think they made a mistake somewhere along the lines. I think they've released these things into our national parks. Some of them. Hey, certainly not every encounter is from a created, bioengineered genetic species mutation, right?
We're getting ready to eat bioengineered meat. They're getting ready to where are they getting this stuff? I don't know. That's crazy.
I think that's the part of it. I think that let's face it.
I mean, they're bringing back the woolly mammoth.
Yeah,
if they could do that, what else could they do?
I
know that they can't crossbreed things and species inside some type of scientific environment.
I think you guys. It's just they're making certain. Now, are they making Bigfoot? If we want to break this down, I think Bigfoot's a creature that exists. I think it is a natural creature. I just think that it's
a
hybrid.
Time,
yeah. Go ahead, Emily.
How about I'm sorry to interrupt, but how about one time it went extinct and now they're messing with us? Is Bigfoot a hologram too? Like I think about that because hologram technologies come out a lot, and this is all national state parks. Are they punking us? And then you always have alien encounters too that follow Bigfoot in the same location.
Wherever there's an orb, there's a Bigfoot, it seems nowadays, right? Wherever there's a UFO sighting, there's a Bigfoot sighting. Now, again, I've heard those stories quite often. If there's I've heard him. I heard him like I just heard one as recently as yesterday. But it's almost odd to me, though, you guys. There's so many stories that I get, so many people I talk to, and I'll tell you, in the very beginning when I started doing this, it was far fetched. Even though I've seen something with my own two eyes physically, but you keep getting these same stories, and what draws me to this subject is all these stories I get, all these people that are involved in the research, they all have a lot of same commonalities, right? You know, the cloaking of a Bigfoot, the orb shows up, there's a Bigfoot, the whoops and hollers.
Well, that makes me think it's electromagnetic frequency is what makes me think, because of the EMF field, and there's always balls of light with EMF, they collide.
Are they coming out of a portal?
It's true. That could be possible.
Or
dumb. Deep underground mill.
Anywhere, right. So,
or maybe they're, paranormal. Maybe it's a ghost. Think about it. A ghost of the woods. When we think about a ghost inside of a house, it's always a person because people live inside houses. Mm-hmm. But if you're in the woods, what is in the woods? Think about it. It's not just people. It's, other things as well. So maybe it's kind of like a ghost of the woods in a way. I don't know.
I have that theory. There's Ron Moorhead, he wrote the book, The Quantum Bigfoot, where he thinks where Bigfoot convert mass to energy, and that's how they can go from one place to another in a matter. They can travel miles in minutes, right? He firmly believes in that. And years ago, he told me, I had him on my show, and he told me, young man, he's an older guy now. He goes, 30 years ago, if you would have came up to me and told me you thought Bigfoot was a part of the woo, right? You've heard of the woo or paranormal.
Yeah. Right.
I'd have told you, son, just turn around and this interview's over. He goes, now, Rob, today, I think Bigfoot's all part of the woo. He thinks it's paranormal. He has paranormal aspects to it or attributes. I think they do too. That, to me, I think they're an entity with paranormal abilities. Another person, a friend of mine, says they're an ancient person. There's been an ancient person of the forest, and they've been around for thousands of years, and but what are they exactly? I don't know. My goal is not to find out what they are, because
Rob, have you been back in the woods? Do you actually physically investigate Bigfoot?
When I go in the woods today, I look for stuff now all the time. Do I make it a monthly thing to go out researching? No. But when I go, I look up in the trees. I look for evidence. I've got a creek by my house. I will tell you this, Emily. There's a creek where I live, and it's got a wood line on both sides, and it goes for miles. It's a big horseshoe. And yeah, I actually, when I go down there, I go looking for stuff. I look for tracks, prints, whatever, any sort of evidence. Not that there's Bigfoot where I live, because I just live outside I live in the suburbs, but I'm surrounded by woods. One thing I've learned, these cryptids can go anywhere. It doesn't have to be in the middle of the Pacific Northwest. I've had reports of Bigfoot encounters in the inner city of Detroit going through dumpsters. We're burnt down.
For you.
I burnt down. Well, I tell you, burnt down, abandoned buildings. But guess what? Guess what's right off the inner city? The Detroit River, which leads to what? The forest.
Well,
the forest.
It's kind of like alligators in the sewers in New York.
I remember that. Do you remember that movie?
Oh yeah, of course. Alligator. It was Gator, right?
Yeah, they flushed the baby alligator down the toilet.
Right. Yeah.
Enough said.
That's it. Now we're gonna have a huge ass alligator under New York, just eating everybody.
I think of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for some reason, but.
Rob, what would it take you to get back to that location? How many guns? How many boats?
Yeah, I'm not scared today. I think that I could probably
4 or 5 guys, my size, your size.
Yeah, go, got a bigger boat. We need a bigger boat.
We need a bigger boat.
Right? It was just right. Roy Schreider would say,
Yeah, of course.
But what I would like, I tell you what, that day is coming. I tell you what, that day is coming. I'm going to go, and I'm actually not going to. I'm going to, I think, go walk it. I'm going to go on it.
Okay.
You're going to be live doing this?
I hope you document it. Please.
Wow, that would be great.
Please document it.
I mean, I don't know what the signal is on your phone or whatever technology you have out there, but like, please let us know because I want to know. I want to watch.
Oh yeah, no. I tell you what, I would be recording for sure. I don't know about going live, but I definitely do some recording and edit it and put together a video on it. That would be for sure. There's another place I plan on going to as well that's out in the middle of the Detroit River, which I coined Dogman Island, which there's this family. We don't have enough time for the story, but they told me about a Dogman encounter they had on one of these abandoned or these uninhabited islands in the middle of the Detroit River outside of Grosse Ile, Michigan, which is not too far from me, about 40 minutes, and had a Dogman encounter. In fact, they found a tunnel that led from their house underneath the river, and they heard howls coming from the tunnel connected to their home. And their home was used for bootlegging. Yeah, and the house was in the bootlegging era during Prohibition, an older house, and they thought it was haunted. So they went down into the cellar of their home, and they found in the back a hollowed wall. So the guy tells me he just tore down the wall, and it led to an actual tunnel, followed this tunnel down, but now it's getting like very tough, harder to breathe and such, all this, and got very, very humid. Then you realize there was a tunnel that led underneath the river because on the opposite side is Canada, where they would transport booze back and forth. So he did research. He went to the library, and sure enough, that entire quarter-mile stretch of shoreline on Grosse Ile was bootleggings, and there was more than one tunnel that ran across the shoreline way back in the day. So the guy says, "Hey, I have a historic house, but kind of creepy, that he hears some sort of howls and growls coming from the tunnel now." So since he boarded it up and he moved. But what he did was, he did a lot of research, and adjacent, right across from that tunnel, straight across, is this island way out there. And he investigated, and he said he saw Dogman on the island. Which, Emily, to you is, I'm thinking that this island, because I'm investigating this as well.
Always islands.
It's always an island, right? Yeah, Elison, did you say? It's an island. I think this place, because there's big signs, keep out, do not enter island. You cannot, it's like, okay, maybe this place is...
That's Area 51.
Yeah, maybe they're making something there. But you never know, right? You never know.
They do all this stuff on islands, though. All these crossbreeding and cloning and all this kind of stuff. Everything's on an island. More than just that, which Epstein and all that goes on too. But these islands. So I highly encourage everybody to research, because also too with Bigfoot in the things I've talked about, even with the national state parks, it seems like there's always a major waterway close by, which makes me think of Project Bluebeam, Blue, which we have the sky and the waters and stuff. And we discussed what happened with Hawaii last week, and the things not being destroyed, but are they implementing laser technology to produce a Bigfoot? And they've done this for many, many years, like in the early 1900s, even. Like this stuff's been around for a long time. Are they using that to produce these holograms, or what an alien, what is it? An alien invasion supposed to happen through Bluebeam and things? Is Bigfoot technology driven, and they're just using Bigfoot as a sample to see what happens, and if people actually see it and believe it, and how real could it be?
I think that's very interesting about the hologram. I never really thought about that one. I mean, there's so many. There's more. The longer I do this the harder it gets. You know, when you think you've come up with something, throw
There's
it out
4
the
other
window.
questions.
You know, there's 400 questions.
Yeah.
I mean, I think anything's possible. I think it's, for me personally, I'd say if you just go from what I seen, it was a humanoid that had a paranormal element to it. And I always tell people kind of looked like a demon. Do I think it was a demon, you guys? No. But I do know this, it was not natural. It was not a natural creature of the forest.
You ever think about it being maybe a banshee? You ever heard of that?
I've heard of them, but
yeah,
I've seen pictures of those. But again, I got to show you guys the rendition when it's done, because now you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Because you can't. It was a big humanoid. It was a person.
Right.
It was a person.
Right.
It really was.
So you believe it's more human than Bigfoot?
I think it's more human. I think it's a humanoid of some sort. But again, when I say this with paranormal abilities, right? I think that you can touch it. I think you can shoot it. I don't know that you can kill it. It was so big. It had to be 800 pounds. Probably have to hit it right in the head, right? I don't know. I'm a fisherman, not a hunter. I don't know what size gun you would need, but I'm sure this thing that I saw, a little basic rifle wasn't going to do the trick. I don't think, Will, or in that one.
Yeah.
So was anybody else out there on the water with you when this happened?
It's like I say, it was middle of the day, middle of the work week, and there was nobody around us. It was like I said, I was explaining earlier, it was nice and calm and serene. Nobody out and about, not that I had noticed. Now, when I started going back, jettisoning out of there, maybe about 100 yards away, there was some boaters that I flipped by, and remember, they probably flipped me off because I probably created a wake running past them.
Oh. Did you talk to any of the people at the bar when you went after, like, hey, does this happen? Or did you ask anybody?
Hey, listen, man, I gotta tell you something. Cindy was so frazzled, just wanted to get the hell out of Dodge. Me, I had asked her, as I said, well, we still got a couple of days left, because I was still, I was kind of intrigued, though, you guys, and exactly what you just said. Screw you, we're out of here.
Oh my gosh, what a story! My gosh.
Yeah, and again, that's the only reason. Hey, if I had not come across that in my life, I never would have started a YouTube channel, never wrote a book. In fact, never would have been on this show. And I, as a kid growing up, I saw the Leonard Nimoy In Search of, where he did something on Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And as a kid, don't get me wrong, I was into weirdness. Growing up, I've seen some ghosts. I've seen ghosts in my bar before. So I always had this strange sense of finding things, but nothing quite as dramatic as what happened to me in 2018. I even saw a flying saucer, as they used to call them as little kids, a UFO, when I was like 7 or 8. My mom pointed out to me and my brother. It was in our background, hovering about 180 feet up in the air. And we looked at it, and sure enough, you guys, it was reported on the news, that local 5 o'clock news, strange aircraft, and they had our city, I guess 380 people, about 380 people called in to report that object. And so my mom was like, oh my God, look, boys, we really did see something. And she started telling my dad, because my dad thought she was crazy. In fact, my mom called my dad at work. And back then, he worked in the factory. There's no such thing as a cell phone.
Right.
So when you get a call from your wife at work, it's usually
something serious.
It better be an emergency.
Yeah.
She's telling my dad, I saw a flying saucer. He goes, are you kidding me?
I'll see you home when I get home for dinner. Bye.
My dad, it was on the news when my dad got home. She was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll give you a pass. I'll give you a pass.
I'll give you a pass. She was telling the truth.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, I will say this real quick, Rob. I don't know if this is a big enough story to put in one of your books later on, but Brent Hurd, Will knows him.
Brent.
It's the paranormal team that I investigate with. It's Appalachian Unknown. And we went investigating down in the hills holler of a holler of Hazard, Kentucky. I was absolutely, you could ask Brent about it. I was so nervous. I said, Brent, where are you taking me? Like, you don't understand Hazard like I know a Hazard. Because I've worked with trucking and all that kind of stuff. A lot of guys down in Hazard. But anyway, I honestly believe we ran into a cryptid down there. And I don't believe it was an albino fox at all. It was really interesting. It's the devil dog is what I think it was, because I looked up pictures of it. And then there was somebody, I can't remember the name. We talked about this before we went live. She passed away, but she wrote about the devil dog and how it shows itself like within so many yards of a graveyard and everything. And we had about 3 big lights with us, and this is outside. These are big, massive lights, and we saw this thing cross the road. Like, it took our breath away because it was unexpected. It was absolutely white as could be. It didn't make. Honestly, I don't remember hearing any noise. It's like everything went dead. And then all of a sudden, all of our lights, batteries, cameras, cell phones even just went whoop, sucked out, everything dead. And that was in 2017, I believe it was. Okay. And I'll never forget it. Never, ever forget it. And that's in Hazard, Kentucky. That's why I was like, you never know what's going on down there in Hazard.
Yeah, I will say this. You talk about the batteries. That's another, how I was talking about commonalities and a lot of these things. Another commonality, and you're talking too, Emily, the energy sucked out of the battery. You can have a fully charged, you have that fully charged battery. You just charge it. It's on 100%. In 10 minutes, it's drained. Come on. I know a lot of people, a lot of stories, a lot of researchers told me it happens all the time.
Well, it's EMF, and then it makes me think it's people messing with us. I don't know, but it's all mystery. And everybody, you can get his book on Amazon. I have the link in the description. True Cryptid Encounters, book 1. So there's obviously going to be more books. But anyway, Rob, if you don't mind, tell people where they can find you, and then we'll let you go.
Okay, well, thanks for having me on. I had a great time on the show.
Thank you, Rob.
My YouTube channel is Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. I'm also, in fact, if you go to the YouTube page, all my social media is in there. I'm on Facebook. I got a Facebook group, Twitter. It's Rob_Bigfoot. Bigfoot Michigan Rob is Instagram. And but all the links, they're in my YouTube channel. If you're interested to find me there, everything runs through YouTube. So, and even the book, I marketed the book with my YouTube stuff in it so people could find me there. So, man, I do appreciate it very much. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you. Obviously, we'll have you back on in the near future, especially if you go back to the place you saw Bigfoot.
And I got to tell you, too, really quickly, I know for an hour show, it just went by. We didn't even... There's so much stuff that, this topic is something worthwhile.
I have 2 check marks on my list.
I mean, it's like crazy, So,
it is crazy. We'll have you back.
We can talk about the government thing for 2
hours. I know. We haven't even really touched the surface of it. So, well, thank you, Rob.
It's a teaser. Thank you so much, Emily and Will.
All right.
Thank you, Rob.
All right,
have a great evening. Good weekend.
Thank you, Rob.
There we go. Bigfoot Michigan Rob.
There we go.
We haven't had a Bigfoot person on in a long time, so it was really great to have him on and hear his story. I did not ever hear his story until tonight.
No, it's a pretty damn good story. I mean,
and I want to give props out to Dr. Dean Bertram that's been on our show, and he has his podcasts and stuff for his YouTube. I actually signed on to his live, and he was interviewing Rob, and that's how I contacted Rob. So.
Gotcha.
So thank you, Dr. Dean Bertram, that's been on with the aliens.
Always teaching us something new.
Flying saucers and all that kind of stuff. So thank you. So next week we're going to be back here live again, same time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the Gem guy, not GYM, but GM.
The Gem guy. All right, I'm looking forward to this. What is this about? It's
going to be so weird. Yeah, everybody. I don't even know how to interview this person, but he's on TikTok.
Yeah, what does he do?
Oh my gosh, I have never seen a gemstone collection in my life like this.
Does he go into these caves and carves out the gems?
No. He's super wealthy, everybody. It's probably the most wealthiest person that's ever been on the show.
Interview.
I'm serious. This guy's a multi-millionaire. Even even in his there's like a little creek bed outside of his house. His creek bed is filled with amethyst stones.
Oh,
like
wonderful.
It's all amethyst. They have tons and tons of gemstones. Like he even cuts out walls in his home to put a big, huge display in. I have never seen anything like this. I don't know how the interview is going to go next week.
This is going to be interesting.
It was the most mind-blowing thing I've ever seen. Yes. So come back again next week. Thank you, everybody on 107.7 FM. We love you all. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll be back next week with the gym guy.
All right.
Woo.